Hi all, I had an interesting game last night against a player called Amato, who's currently ECF 174. I'm 188 at the moment, so slightly higher rated, but I was playing black. And it was in the Hearts League where we have, unfortunately, adjudications, and he wanted to play the longer time limits, which always concerns me a bit, because it means if you have a worse position at the end of the time control at 10:30, then it could just be fed into computers later, with adjudication or adjournment. So maybe my opening choice wasn't too solid in that respect, because I tried the burn variation, which I've been playing a lot in Blitz. So after knight f6 here, and I'm wondering actually to try the winner, go back to the winner, or find some obscure lines in the winner with bishop b4, just for a change actually. But anyway, for the moment, I played knight f6, and after bishop g5, I took on e4. So I played lots of blitz with this opening, and I think the solid variation after bishop e7, bishop takes, will be to take with the bishop. White can get a dangerous looking initiative though. I was looking at chess games earlier this morning. If White ends up playing like bishop d3, queen e2, castle queenside h4, it looks a bit dangerous. I know black can finish out the bishop and avoids the double pawns, but doesn't look as dynamic as the burn. The big price of this burn variation is, of course, structure. So there's obviously a massive imbalance I've created here, getting the dark square bishop, getting potential pressure on the g file, but that sets against this structural damage already, and the structural damage also means that moving these pawns makes things more exploitable. I would say any pawn moves here. If I move f5, I weaken e5, etc. It's very tricky to move these pawns later. And I think he played a good line against this. After b6, he didn't throw in the check, which is what a lot of people do. I think it's better simply to go to c4, because black really wants to play c6 anyway. Because I want to castle queenside, because castling kingside is really kind of dangerous. Now if black wants to castle queenside, then I'm going to have to play c6 and queen c7 at some point to get these bits out of the way. So basically I think he played a very good line here, and so that concerned me. Not only have I played a dynamic opening in a league which there's adjournments and adjudication, so if I end up structurally worse or even a pawn down, it might as well be a loss later if he's got good preparation and can absorb the dynamism from my position. So this is the big concern. Is there any dynamism? And he's also blinding the bishop pair now. So I say blinding because it's nice to have the bishop pair to cover both colours of square on the diagonals. So this is very good stuff from him still. At move 14, g3, neutralising in anticipation of rook g8, and white, according to Ribka, stands slightly better, so not significantly better, 0.19 at depth 10 on the version of Ribka I have, Ribka 3. So basic thing b1, and now I was just tempted to play f5. Ribka doesn't seem to mind f5 either here, but I delayed it actually. I played king a8. Because really, what I was looking to provoke is actually c4 and d5, because then, in the ideal world, I get the c5 score without actually, hopefully, losing e6. So this kind of provocation, and maybe bishop b4s will be useful. It's against bishop b4, actually, his next move, a3, which slightly loosens his king a bit. It means also b5, b4, I've got appealing activity against the a3 pawn. So that's a little bit controversial, and I play now queen b7. Which theoretically maybe is not that good to Ribka, but I didn't see what else really to do here. I didn't like the look of b5, because I thought if white plays c4 and I take, then I'll be isolating these pawns as well. Let's see, b5. Maybe this isn't as bad. So c4, f5. Okay, this is interesting, because there's possibility of queen b7 here. So maybe this is like positional to try and undermine white's control of d5. Maybe that's not as bad as it looks, because now there is the b4, exploiting that if queen d3 is b4 may be possible. Okay, so that's interesting to consider, that if I did have b5 against this. So he played c4 anyway, and now b5 is really discouraged, I think. If b5, okay, big advantage with d5, yeah, that's the sort of thing to avoid. My structure will be getting massacred. So actually I play f5, which is actually, Rybka likes this move as well actually. So bishop f6, covering immediately e5. And I'm not sure it's that bad here. And he played an odd looking move, knight a2. I played now c5 against it, because I thought, well, he's given me some hope here. He's going to play passive looking moves. But c5 is controversial, because I'm really... But if as I say before, if I'm moving these pawns, they're getting weaker and more exploitable. I also give white a big pawn now on d5. Maybe best in this position is something like knight b8, because there's a pin actually which I didn't notice in the game, so he can't win e6. And in this sort of situation, you know, maybe it's not as bad as it looks, but it does look kind of bad with this structure. Again, the whole opening is fairly controversial. This structure versus this bishop as dynamic compensation. But I make things theoretically, you know, a lot worse with e5. As I say, with this adjudication adjournment, this is not the sort of thing you want to do in this kind of league. And here I push again, because I'm concerned about f5 and h7 and things like queen f3, queen h5. So it's looking a bit horrible. He plays f3, and I really thought I was getting a bit done in, because I was even looking at things like queen b8 with the idea of takes and f4. But this is really unsound stuff, which is approaching move 35. Is not. I don't want to be a pawn down. So anyway, that's why I took, and I played the ugly looking rook g5, very passive looking, and the glimmers of hope in the position, I suppose, include b5 to try and get this bishop going, bishop and queen. What he did play was queen f1 though, to try and stamp down on b5. So I play a6, and then he plays knight f3. So I play rook g4, and I thought, hang on, this maybe it doesn't look that bad, this position, because what is he doing with this knight f3? And he actually played knight d2 here. So actually, after rook g5, I offer the draw, rather optimistically, because I thought I was worse. Rybka thinks I'm actually a lot worse here, 0.85 to white, and to my surprise, he accepted. But maybe, you know, it's not that easy for white to convert this to a win, because there is the potential for it at b5. But we are approaching move 35. On the other hand, we're both down to about 14, 15 minutes each. So another 9 moves each, you know, there's a lot of potential for blunder. And apparently, you know, he did blunder towards the end of time, because in his last couple of games, so he didn't really fancy taking chances here, even though structurally he's a lot worse. He did seem to recognise the dynamic, you know, compensation of this bishop in particular. But for me, I have a slight feeling of disappointment this morning, that why did I play the burn variation? Maybe I should, you know, prepare some other systems with black in the French defence. The French defence is a vast, you know, array of different strategies. Why did I choose this particular double pawn complex in the Hearts League, where there's adjudications on Germans? It's okay. The dynamism's okay if the clock's ticking. If it has to be played to a finish, I think it would be more acceptable to take these risks. But you know, otherwise these structural risks, you know, with best play, if the dynamism is neutralised, then, you know, white's going to better. So I suppose I was a bit lucky to end up with him accepting the draw. And anyway, we managed to scrape a match victory. It was only over 5 boards. We won 3-2, so I was happy with the match result anyway. Please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.